Hi, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to the Women's Growth Series. I'm Corey Meredith. I am AIME Social Media Specialist, and today I am so excited to be joined by Skylar Goff. Skylar, thank you for your very first AIME appearance.
Thank you, Corey. I'm super excited.
Super excited to have you here. And today we are talking about all things processing. So Skylar, you are a senior processor right now. So just to start, give me a little bit of information about yourself and kind of what you do day to day.
Yeah. So I've been in the industry a couple months past a year. I worked both in-house and third party. Right now, I am just working as an in-house processor for Fulcrum Home Loans out of Idaho. But the way that we do things with Fulcrum is I get the loan after it's disclosed. So the LO will disclose a loan, and I'm in complete contact with the borrower. I make borrower welcome calls to make them familiar with me and my name, and just let them know that I can be used as another point of contact aside from their LO during the process of their purchase or refi. I do update calls on what's going on with their file, if they have any questions, or if I need to request something from them. I usually call after they're approved with their submission, when their CD's out, clear to close, and 48-hour post-closing checkup. I do all things from submitting the file, chasing and fulfilling conditions, ordering appraisals, verification of employment. We do weekly pipeline meetings with the LOs for updates on their files because I'm usually in the file more than the LO, so I usually have to give them a weekly pipeline update of what's going on and where the file is. I schedule the closings with the lender, borrower, and title company. I balance document with titles, make sure that I'm up to date with the funding process, make sure that the loan is funded, and I personally work about 30 to 40 loans a month by myself. So that's pretty much what I do.
It definitely sounds like they keep you very busy over there. But you also mentioned that you've only been in the industry for a little bit over a year. So it's kind of crazy to see how much you can learn and how far you can grow just in that short amount of time. How did you kind of get into the industry, and how were you able to work yourself up so quickly to be able to take on all of those tasks?
So I began working in the industry last year, like I said, during COVID, actually, which is kind of crazy because of everything surrounding COVID. You wouldn't think that this is the best time to start a career like this, but I was trained by Jackie Dunlap. I was brought on as a junior processor for her. I went through her mortgage calculator training, and I basically started from the ground up. I started as a junior, and I was doing junior processing things, as I will get into in this video too. But yeah, just learning, surrounding myself with people that are higher up in the industry, learning the terminology, working hand in hand with Jackie. Jackie taught me everything. Jackie was super awesome with all of everything that she taught me, and it was pretty great.
Shout out Jackie and her processor
Shout
training.
out Jackie.
She's done so much for this group in general. So definitely a well-deserved shout out. And it clearly shows that, good training goes a long way. So you talked about a little bit of your junior processing and where you started. So let's dive into that, because I think a lot of people don't understand, the different tiers or the levels of being a processor and how you can have different responsibilities in each role. So kind of take me through each of those levels.
Yeah. So when you first start, you're a junior processor or a processor assistant or an admin, depending on your brokerage, what they call it. There's many different things that it can be called. But where I started, I was a junior processor. That's basically entry level. They do a lot of clerical duties. It's an introduction to the industry terminology and acronyms like EOI, VOE, EMR. You have to learn all those things. Introducing how to label documents in a borrower folder. So each borrower has their own folder. Some people use Google Drive or Dropbox. So learning how to label documents like bank statements, we usually label them like BS, Chase checking, March. So learning the proper way of doing all that. You start ordering documents and uploading them to the borrower folders like title work, insurance, scrubbing files, which is just making sure that all the documents that you're uploading from borrowers and from title companies, making sure that they're legible, dated correctly, all correct information's on them. Junior also does pipeline management, so you make sure that the pipeline that you use is in real time, up to date, documenting when document orders go out, when they're checked on, when they come back, making sure that pay stubs, bank statements, payoffs, all up to date. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And how long would you say that you're kind of in each of these tiers for?
So you can move through the tiers as quickly as you're willing to work, but the way that we do things is pretty much for the first 30 to 60 days, you are a junior admin assistant. And then after 60 days, you'll go to second tier, obviously depending on your drive, your willingness, and your overall motivation to get to that next level. But yeah, it's anything's possible with some good determination and motivation.
You're seriously right. And
Yeah.
Skylar and I had a pre-call before this conversation, and we were kind of talking through some of these points and different tiers and levels, and just going through how you can get stagnant in some of these positions. So it is dependent upon the person themselves. And outside of this conversation, we always have talks about hiring new talent and bringing more people into the broker channel. It's a great career, and not a lot of people know that. So kind of changing that stigma and looking at different personality traits or communication styles of your average favorite restaurant employee or your best friend or your cousin's son, whoever it may be, and just kind of identifying what those personality traits are, giving them the proper training and having them start in as a processor is a great way to get them accustomed to this industry, who a lot of people fall into by accident. So I love your personality and your take on this too, because it just kind of validates all of those points. To toss it back to you, excuse me, are there specific personality traits or communication styles that you have found to be better in a working environment like this one, beyond your just willingness and your own personal motivation?
It's pretty cliche, but you need to be a hustler 100%. Don't be complacent. Be a team member, not a member of your own personal team. Like, for instance, I always say, like, I'm a team member of Fulcrum Home Loans. I'm not Skylar's personal team. I'm not Skylar's personal game. You need to be a team member. You need to be friendly. You communicate with borrowers. You communicate with title agents. You communicate with lenders and AEs, and you need to be friendly with them. But overall, it's a lot of, you can't be complacent. You need to be time management oriented. A lot of things in processing have deadlines, and you need to be able to, so today I have to get this done because the lock expires on this day, and to make that time, you need to be very time oriented. So I would just say you need to be a hustler all around. You need to know that when you get to work, you got to put your head down and get it done as much as you can, because some days there's not much to do on certain files, but every single day you can progress a file as much as you can for that day. So it's overall just don't be complacent. You always have to strive to be more and be greater, and put yourself in the rooms with people that are going to teach you how to do more and how to be more, and sit next to the people who are and say, hey, I need to learn this. Can you teach me? Take the time that you have off. There never should be a time when you're sitting there with nothing to do. There's always something to do, whether it's learning the terminology, whether it's learning how to do the new things to get to that next level, to get to the second tier, to get to the senior processing level. So you really want to look for the personality traits that stand out, like not being complacent and being a hustler, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on a lot of really great things there. One being, you never want to be the smartest person in the room, right? Because then you need to go to a bigger room, because there's always room to grow and to learn and to do new things. And another thing that you said is you don't work for Skylar, you work for the company. So having those cumulative goals that everyone strives for and tries to achieve together not only just creates a better work culture in general, but it also gets more done from a productive standpoint too. So I love all of those levels. And just to bring it back one step, we talked about Jackie and her training and how you went through that, but is there an example, or why do you feel like having proper training, specifically in your role, is really, really vital to the long-term success of the processor?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone brand new to the industry, or someone who sees that their cousin Sally just became a mortgage loan processor and they want to join, they might think it's best to just land a job with a brokerage and put their head down and start working. But I'm a firm believer that if you're trained correctly or the right way, aside from the person's willingness to learn and grow, of course, is the difference between a worker and an asset to your team. investing in a processing training, like I said, I went through the mortgage calculator training through Jackie. It set me up for success. Aside from Women's Mortgage Network, I'm also in a ton of processor Facebook groups, and I see at least 3 to 5 posts a day saying, I'm brand new, I started my job, I don't understand anything, help. But it's very important to invest in yourself. If you can look at a processing training brand new to this and be like, oh, that's $1,000. I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about this. This is new. But if you look at that as, oh, I'm going to invest in myself because I want to learn this and I want to be good at what I do and I want to be an asset to a team, then better than looking at it as like, oh, well, it's a lot of time. I could be working and making that money. So the best way to look at it is just investing in yourself in that time and learning everything you need to learn.
Right. And although this is typically,
Because, sorry.
no, you're fine. Go ahead, finish your thought.
When you go through training being brand new too, a lot of things seem like a foreign language. But after investing and submerging yourself completely into that training, and then looking at like real live work in the industry, getting into files, you'll remember things that you learned in the training, and it will click for you. Like, oh, I've heard this before, and then you can apply it to your work instead of getting into your job and being like, I have no idea what I'm doing. You've heard this before, and you can apply it to your work because it clicks. And I also said in the beginning that, but I want to touch on that. The right way is different for everybody. So you should really take your time and research processing trainings and learn what ways you learn best. Like, I am a do to learn kind of person. So I'm the kind of person that I need to sit down, look at it, study it, do it to be able to learn how to do it. I can't watch somebody do it. I need to be in it to do it. So overall, you should just really invest in yourself during the whole process of researching trainings and picking one that you think is best fits your needs of how you learn the best, whether due to learn or so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important too, from a broker who's might be watching this right now, a broker owner or somebody who's an LO or even self-processing currently, and they might be considering hiring. Look at the personality traits and identify how that person best learns, right? Because how you best learn may not be the same way that I best learn, and you want to set them up for success in the long term too. And by going through these processing training courses,
Absolutely.
it's important that you kind of have the leg up even in a beginning an entry level position, right? You learn things that can save you time, or you learn these techniques that you don't have to keep looking up in the dictionary of what it means, because the mortgage industry is confusing. It's scary. It's new to a lot of people. So I really think that just going through that training is super helpful in setting up a new person with the success that they need in order for them to continue to grow.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
And now, kind of going back over the communication, right? In the beginning of all of this, you talked about how you're in the file typically a lot more than sometimes even the LO is. So why do you think that the communication between the processor and the loan officer is so important throughout the entirety of the loan?
I'm a huge, huge, huge communication freak during the whole process with everyone. And I think that communication is really honestly what sometimes can make or break a deal. If you think about it, communication is everywhere in every job. And if somebody's lacking on their communication, then the team can't perform to their best ability. So even if a processor is lacking in communication, if an LO saying, hey, what's going on with the file? And the processor has no idea, like, obviously the LO is going to think the processor doesn't know what's going on. Are they even working my file? And the same goes for the LO. Like, I've dealt with instances where I've been given a file and there are certain things through each tier that you just don't do as a processor. Like, personally, I don't disclose. So like, if a borrower is asking about pricing, obviously I'm not licensed. So one, I can't talk about that anyway. So if a borrower is coming to me and asking me all these questions about a CD, and I'm like, okay, let me get with your LO and I'll have them get back to you. And then the LO is nowhere to be found for 3 days because they're having a vacation in Mexico because they just handed me 30 files and said, here you go, I'm going on vacation. It's super important to stay in contact with everybody involved in your team at all times. Like I said, sometimes it can really make or break a deal, and just having really strong communication within your team just makes your team stronger and better, and it grows so fast.
Yeah, especially in this virtual world that we're living in. A lot of people are working from home, or office settings aren't really a thing. I mean, you said you don't even work in the same state as your brokerage sometimes. So, you know, having that, our mentality here at AIME is to over communicate. And I think that stands true for even what you guys are doing too. It's like that processor and that loan originator relationship is so important, because you guys have both so many valuable, you offer so much value to the loan itself. So you need to have that clear line of communication, so that if something goes wrong, or if you have a question, or you need to build off of one another, establishing that upfront is definitely beneficial to the long term of the entire loan process. So love that. Okay, so talking about, self-processing loan originators, this is not an uncommon thing whatsoever. But if you had to give a piece of advice to a self-processing loan originator who either is considering new talent, or they're busy but they think they can handle it, or what would you say to them about possibly taking the leap of hiring somebody and putting them through training and becoming a processor?
So it really depends on the needs of the broker and which one, either third party, contract, or in-house, which one of those really fit the needs of what your company needs at this time. So a broker really needs to analyze what the needs of their company are in the arena of processing to be able to answer that question for themselves. But whichever sounds like a better fit for you, wanting to be 100% in each file, or okay, these contractors know how to process, I'm going to give them my files while I go out and farm new leads. Like, it really depends on where you are in your company. If you have 40 files that you need help with right now, and you don't have the time to hire a brand new in-house and train them and teach them how to do the things that you want them to do a certain way, as opposed to contract processing where those processors have already been trained and they're in a company where they are able to help you pretty much immediately. So it really depends on the need of the brokers, honestly, with their needs, and if they need something very soon, like if they need help immediately, or if they have the time to hire somebody and get them through that onboarding process or stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what you were saying about investing in yourself, right? So everyone needs to invest in themselves, and whether that's personally or investing in their business, maybe that's something to consider as well. You're struggling to, you have so much to do. Everyone's so busy. So you're struggling with that work-life balance, or you're struggling to maintain all of your pipeline, your files, everything is becoming overwhelming. Maybe it's time to invest in your business, which ultimately invest in yourself to make that leap, and kind of proceed and continue to do more business, but be able to do it effectively too, so that you're not draining yourself, because you can be easily overworked, especially in this industry. And just looking out for everybody's long term, and taking care of themselves personally as well, is something that I think everyone should keep in mind and consider.
Right. And there's risks in either way. There's risks in not taking that leap and taking all of that on by yourself, being a self processing loan originator, and having to deal with all that. There's risks there, and there's risks with hiring a new in-house. There's risks with onboarding a new processing company. There's risks in all of it. So you really just need to make, a pros and cons of what you're willing to do to help yourself and help the company in which you own or work or whichever. But there's risks in all of it.
Absolutely. But you know what? Risks sometimes, most times, equal rewards. So, just
Exactly.
taking that leap and going from there. We did have a women's growth series a little bit ago with Stephanie Hale and Lindsay Sills, talking about the difference between contract processing and in-house processing. So for people who are watching that are maybe debating between the two, that could be a good episode to check out and kind of see their standpoint on why they prefer one versus the other. But as Skylar said, it really just matters on your flow, what you feel comfortable doing, and taking that risk, and whatever seems maybe less risky too for you at this time in your life. So to kind of wrap things up a little bit here, we always talk about the collaborative work environment, and that communication line that we feel is so important. So we're all trying to fulfill the same goal, right? We want to please the customer. We want to get their loan closed on time. We want to go the extra mile, possibly get that referral at the end. So why is it so important that being a processor is a role. We don't want to overlook this position whatsoever. So what do you think the importance of being a processor really is?
I think a processor is a huge asset to the team of loan originator, processor, the whole mortgage experience in general, because again, depending on how your brokerage works, the loan processor, I know from the way that I work, I'm in the loan and I'm talking with the borrower every single day to the point where I need to go tell my LO what's going on with the file and what their borrower's saying. So I think that the processor is a super vital part of your team and should be treated as such, because without them, you would have a lot more work to do. You would have a lot less time to farm leads and do new applications, and you would have a lot more stress on your shoulders if you didn't have somebody who comes to the office every day and puts 110% into your loans and your borrowers, and treats your borrowers with the utmost respect, because that's your reputation on the line. Like, the processors care about the LOs and they care about that reputation, and they do anything and everything to make sure that deal goes through and that everything is good and the borrower's happy. At the end of the day, that's the number one goal, is to make sure that your loans get through and get approved and get closed and funded, and that your borrowers are happy, because that's how you get the referrals and that's how your name gets out there and you get more business. So I think that the processor is a super huge part of that process, and they should be treated as such, like a valuable asset to the team.
Yeah, everyone has a valuable role within the process. Doesn't matter which level you are coming in at, and everybody plays their part and does their part to make, you know, everyone's lives easier to please the customer and the client. So I love everything that you had to say today. Skylar, is there anything else that you want to mention? Any pointers, tips, advice, anything you want to give to WMN before we kind of wrap things up here?
I think I just want to touch again on investing in yourself, investing in your company, and investing in your brand, and who you want to be, and who you want to be in this industry, and what kind of brokerage that you want to run. Being a processor, investing in those trainings, investing in the time that it takes to get from junior to senior, just putting yourself out there, getting yourself in the rooms with the people like Women's Mortgage Network. This has been the best thing for me, being in the industry and being surrounded by these awesome ladies, and even in Brokers Are Better, these awesome people that you can ask anything to, and they'll give you an answer, and they won't be like, oh my gosh, this girl has no idea what's going on. You know what I mean? But it's definitely super important to invest in yourself and get yourself out there and find a seat at the table, and let people know who you are and what you want, and yeah,
Crush it. You crush it every single
crush
day.
it.
There you go. Well, thank you, Skylar, so much. It's been an honor, really, to get to know you a bit more, talk to you today, and hear about all the things that you do in the processing world. You really are making a difference and helping out so many people. So thank you so, so much. I hope everybody has a fabulous rest of their Monday, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Corey.